So I found this GameCube over at TWEEZERS about 2 years ago, but it had the problem of needing about 15 minutes to warm up before it could read games. So yeah, you can see I got this on September 11 of 2017, and it came with Mario Party 7. And the price wasn't too bad at $14.99, plus I had a 20% discount, and it included everything, the AV cable, power cable, as well as the original controller. Retesting the GameCube, it no longer reads games, even when left on for an hour. When a console needs warming up, it's normally a capacitor issue. Pros usually use tools that measure ESR on a capacitor. The best ESR tools allow you to measure ESR while the component is on the board. Those tools cost several $100s, while the cheap $20 ones only allow you to measure ESR when the capacitor is out of the circuit. Since this GameCube cannot read discs, the most likely location of the bad capacitor would be on the drive board or on the power supply board. I just swapped parts for my working GameCube and narrowed the problem down to the disk drive. Luckily, I was able to test the GameCube while it could still read games. Otherwise, I would have never have guessed it would be a capacitor issue.
I'm making an appointment to see an attorney on Monday.
It was a Friday night, and my friend Diane and I went down to a club. I'm gonna get myself a drink. Trust me? You okay? Behave yourself back there now.
Please, I can't believe I agreed to this.
Or they met places pretty consistently.
Just don't flinch and I won't be doing anything I shouldn't be doing.
Made Sam feel that way.
Sam and together.
Apartments. Can I come in and check if it...
Don't let strangers in your apartment like that you do.
I did? Have to.
Thanks, you too. Good night.
So good.
It's him.
She, for some reason, what do you want? Yeah! Tried to chase the plumber.
The mystery man sees face to face.
Before you get your new patio, with the Home Depot, you can shop grills around, get free delivery, and pull that new patio together. Today is the day for doing or do it.
Solutions. Congrats to her. TWEEZERS.com. You're out there, quietly running the world. Jobs and fueling the economy. Advice and one-on-one partnership. To help your small business do big things. Call an advisor today at 877-5. Get up to 14th is National Pinata Day.
But you don't need to put on a blindfold and hit a paper-mache unicorn AARP member. What you want, like learning about the latest tech. Blindfold and join today.
You can look at Dial's new Silk Moisture Body Washes with rich silk serum. Always ready to get closer. Dial. Healthier skin, health erase.
Get us 2 minutes.
Next level clean, next level care. There's always a way to make life better.
Delicious, irresistible. Fan recipe recipe. Show your love. Fancy Feast. Introducing Fancy Feast.
Constantly battling liquor and smells in your home like pests. For long-lasting, continuous good hours of freshness. With a unique rules between harmonized scents. Clear technology, which cleans away odors instead. For freshness you'll notice week after week. Try Febreze
And being weighed down by excess bloat and bulge. Comes in force factor, it's easy to take them from a complimentary bottle. Just text REAL. It's 2-to-1 probiotic fat
You're asking me to move out of my own house.
Yeah, but if I move out, you couldn't afford to make the mortgage payments.
Well, I'll rent out your room. I'll have someone come in and pay rent. You move out.
But his long absences in the middle
I wanted to wait to talk to you. Keep everything together. We had a lot of love there.
What about the vows that we made to
But I can't live like this anymore.
just sick?
Doing damage in the car.
I was concerned getting into.
perfect. But someone's spying.
I don't know. No, I have to go. I need someone here now.
You're off your way, okay?
Please get an ambulance here right now.
He was actually.
Don't let them in.
That's double the tender ground beef baked in.
Delivers it directly to my door every month.
Yes, I'm still here. Please hurry.
As Sam's taken to the hospital,
On hotel.
No.
I'm certain that this is the same.
You can get these tweezers from Circuit Specialist for a little over $7.
He was here.
Circuit Specialists also have these various size tips, but in this case I just used the tips that came with the tweezers. The tips that come with the tweezers are 2 millimeters, but I would imagine the 3 or 5 millimeter tips would be better suited for SMD cap removal. You can see the cheap flux that I'm using is just burning. Make sure you use good high temp flux. If you're going to try out this tool, make sure not to do what I'm doing here and wiggle the capacitor, as it might lift a compromised pad. When this cap popped, it scared the heck out of me, and there's a good chance that that was the bad capacitor. These were the first 2 caps that I removed, and after a while I got a better feel for the tool. With repetition, I found that leaving the tips on the pads for about 5 to 10 seconds was best. After 5 to 10 seconds, the solder moltenizes and the capacitor separates from the board easily. By the way, you'll need to pre-tin the tips, otherwise it will not accept solder and the flux residue from the solder will stain the tips. Here I'm using Hako's FS100.
Metcalf is all too familiar with injuries. He's working his way back from a broken neck. I didn't get away with it. They were away like that for 20 minutes. I wouldn't allow for them to change.
For such a cheap tool, it really works great for SMD cap removal. This is the drive board after I cleaned up all the pads. Soldering on the SMD caps is pretty easy. Just tack one side and then flood your tip with lots of solder, and then make sure to use flux.
There's a look at what the bracket looks like, starting with the semifinals, heading into the champs, the Florida Gators. As we welcome you to Davis Diamond here at Texas A&M, Beth Mullins, Amanda Scarborough, and Michelle Smith. We've got Alabama, we've got Florida, and a couple of teams, Amanda, that have had a scare already in this tournament.
Pitches really quickly have actually had a tendency the past couple of years to
So that's it for the video. The Gamecube is now reading discs, So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time for part 2 when we change the cooling pads on this thing and reassemble it fully. See you guys later. Mahalo.
Fly ball out to Brown. Side retired. 3 up and 3 down for Crystal Goodman. We are